This is a sport like no other. Countless hours of planning and preparation have brought you here. You have tested, strategized, tuned to perfection. Your drivers and crew have practiced relentlessly. They are focused, synchronized, ready for your lead. And from the moment the lights go out, the decisions you make, the risks you take, this is what gets your team to the podium. Do you have what it takes to win?
Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, hello there and welcome to a game that I've been looking forward to since it was originally announced, this partnership, about 3 years ago. Welcome to F1 Manager 2022. As well, this was announced yesterday. I'm sure you've seen some of the news about this. I'm just going to give my thoughts about this. And add some bits and pieces as well that I've also seen a few Twitter posts as well. So first of all, what is this game? Now, for those of you who basically don't know what this game is, about, what was it, 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago now, Sega and PlaySport Games produced a game called Motorsport Manager. Now, Motorsport Manager basically does exactly the same as I said on the tin. The problem with Motorsport Manager was it wasn't officially licensed. However, every season somebody would go and spend hours of their time modding the game as well, so that you could play with the official teams, the drivers, the engineers, and throughout etc. The pit, I don't know if obviously the pit crew are still the random, but you know, they spent their hours as also real interviewers as well. So yes, now it's time to level up from those mods, from playing all those mods to playing the original game as well, which to be fair, considering the game is so old, obviously PlaySport Games have gone on to make more, but they're obviously I should point out that Motorsport Manager was also a mobile game made for PC, whereas F1 Manager is PC and also on console as well, on PlayStation and Xbox. It won't be on the old consoles because there's no point. It's a brand new game series. Only previous game series will be on the old consoles by then, although this might be the start of games not using the Xbox One, the PS4, and instead using the PS5 and the new Xbox mini fridge as well. And it's coming this summer. Now, everyone's speculating when this might be. I think that Codemasters with this might delay their game. The reason why they haven't specified is because obviously this game is now going to be competing with F1 2022 for people playing the game. If this can get a big enough audience, which I think it will be, and I'll come to F1 22 later in the video because there's an iffy game leaks that has gone on. I'll read you that article as well later in the video. But let's dive into the details of F1 Manager then. Obviously, you become the team principal of any of the 10 teams. So, no My Team, that might be a future iteration. They do have the license from this year's game up to 2025 already as well. I think Codemasters, EA's license runs out 2024. So, both of those will probably be renewed. Obviously, all the official circuits over multiple years, hire real world drivers and engineers being the thing. So remember, as I was saying, in those mods, you'd had the likes of Adrian Newey, and all those other Pat Fry. I'm trying to think of engineers. I can't think of engineers on top of my head, but they'll probably all be all real life engineers, the lead engineers. Probably everyone lower down, like the pit stop crew, the minor engineers, will probably be fake. But to be fair, to have just like Adrian Newey in an F1 game, which is something that Codemasters don't have. We don't have the lead engineers at all, even if just without cutscene. Expand HQ as well. We'll come to that, and build the next dominant force in F1. And drive every decision, of course, is there. You've just seen the announcement trailer. I'm not going to re-show it as well. So yes, Frontier. Now, Frontier haven't done any F1 stuff before. They've never done any sports game either. They're most noted for a game called Planet Coaster, which I've never played in my life, so I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's going to be like, basically. But looking at the trailer, it's promising signs, especially if there's some stuff in the trailer. That could be definitely promising. Now, obviously, an authentic, detailed, thrilling and rewarding experience. Now, obviously, I'm hoping that they've done what Project Cars 2 did. Now, obviously, we know Project Cars isn't the best, doesn't have the best reputation. It's also now made by Codemasters, which is why Project Cars 3 was one of the world's worst games as well. But glossing over that, Project Cars 2 developed their game with McLaren, in association with McLaren, and I'm hoping that they've actually gone and talked to team principals as well, to get an idea of handling the day-to-day running of an F1 team. As well, obviously there'll be the race as well. I'll come to that as a moment, because they've got broadcast graphics, something else the F1 game doesn't have, as well. Overseeing long-term strategies as well. So obviously you are the team principal. You will handle the day-to-day running an F1 team. Overseeing the long-term strategies. I don't know what that's going to take. That might be a bit financial stuff, making split-second decisions, how you guide your crew to victory. That's going to be on track. Sponsorships obviously got to manage the sponsors, probably. Regulation changes. I'm hoping we can have a tree, maybe, but a more detailed tree. I've talked about this in F1 2022 game ideas already, so if you want to see more what I think about how R&D should be evolved, I think we should see a similar system applied here as well. Navigate this challenge, overcome the race, we can then create and execute the perfect strategy for a success. Obviously between now and launch they will share plenty. Now I remember launch is this summer. They haven't set a date, partially I think due to Codemasters. They want to know when they're releasing their game, and then they will probably release F1 Manager 2022. But the fact that this game's been announced before Codemasters, and also, I think it's a month before Codemasters. We're not expecting beginning of April. We're expecting announcement on Codemasters about the F1 2022 game. Also, this game's been in development a lot longer. Multiple years we're talking about, so they should be able to. Most of it's pretty much just going to be finalising those cars and assets as well, making sure all the drivers and all the stuff is up to date as well. So let's go through some of the key features. Obviously, career. It's the big player. Apparently, it is a. I don't think there's a multiplayer, which is a shame, because Motorsport Manager did actually have a multiplayer, even though it wasn't played that much. But what it does have is something that the F1 game doesn't have. Formula 3. Yes, you'll be able to scout and hire drivers from Formula 1, Formula 2 and Formula 3 That's a lot of drivers as well. I don't know if we're going to see drivers retire as you go later in the season. That would be quite something to see. And then obviously see the F2 and the F3 drivers move up. It's also nice if they did what Motorsport Manager did and showed you the results of those lower formula, so you can see who's doing well and who's doing not. But that's what we've got to wait and see whether what happened then. I'm sure we'll see more as well. Obviously the board as well, they've got to be kept happy as well by hitting targets, a bit like what you do in manager mode in FIFA as well. You've got contracting drivers and as well you've got to obviously do those negotiations as you do in my team, but there's probably a little bit more contracty stuff there than what you see in my team as well. The HQ, now the HQ, we're probably expecting something similar to Motorsport Manager, where you have an overview of the HQ, a little bit like what they got in GT7, with that little world there that's going on, and you click on each of the HQs. So far they've only mentioned the wind tunnel and the design centre. Those are the two HQs that are coming, but we're probably going to expect more than that. There's probably going to be stuff with aero, maybe even stuff specifically that aero department gets split up as well. There'll probably be a race simulation, a simulator probably definitely will be there as well. So there's stuff like that. I'm sure you can get the picture as well. Might even be a test track. There was a test track in Motorsport Manager as well, which you couldn't drive. That's what we want. That's, I think, a lot of people want to see in my team, as a test track you can design yourself and then drive it for yourself as well. Obviously there's going to be upgrade, so there's going to be levels as well. Obviously poach the best in-class staff from rival teams as well. So obviously there's scouting as well, which we don't have in F1 in the F1 game. So you will have to go and scout them and see if they're interested in the move. The factory, perfecting your car as well. This is something that Motorsport Manager did a little bit poorly, I must say. I'm going to say the R&D wasn't as detailed as the F1 game, and that's where I'm hoping that Frontier will be able to take that a step forwards with F1 Manager 22 as well. Choosing your engineering approach to gain advantages, setups as well. That's probably obviously you're going to get feedback from there. I'll talk about that down here. As well, utilize cutting edge technology to fine tune each part as well, as opposed to just basically having like different front wings for different types of circuits, like they do in real life as well. So having a tune for a low drag setup compared to a high drag setup for a front wing, stuff like that as well. And then obviously the race, the big event, the main event as well. Obviously you're going to get driver feedback and engineer insight as well. So they're going to both work together. I imagine we might have the team engineers. Will they be real? I mean, will we have Bono, for example, in the game? We'll have to wait and see. The drivers engineers. Obviously we've got weather, dynamic race events, safety cars, weather changes. Don't mention red flags. Hopefully they do include them as well. And here's the thing: immerse yourself in hyper-realistic simulation of an official F1 race presented in true-to-life broadcast quality. And that means true to life suggests that they're going to have the official F1 graphics with the official tyre like they do for every race as well. Use important data to make crucial calls that can make or break your race as well. So there might be some simulation stuff as well. We might get that simulation data based with the front wing and the setup and what we've implied. That's pretty much it. That's all they've discussed with Al. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing this series. I'm not entirely sure what's going to be on the channel in terms of the series as well, purely because I don't know how many views an F1 Manager 2022 career mode would get, considering the fact that there's only 10 teams, there's only so much you can do, and I imagine, considering the fact they're sending all the big creators chocolates, that we're not, everyone else will probably not, like, or smaller creators like myself will probably not get to play the game until it's too late, as well. So there will be videos on this, but I don't know what type of videos yet. That is something for the future. So now I'm going to talk about this leak. Now, first of all, this bloke Tom Henderson, I believe that the person he's talking about this, this screenshot's been added since it last there, as well. This is about F1 2022. Now, obviously, you can read from the title, supercars. Now, first of all, I'm a little bit iffy about the supercars. I personally think, would they actually do it? His source is EA based as well, so he's not directly from Codemasters themselves. Remember, Codemasters still make the game. It's EA that obviously release and publish the game, and obviously lend any additional resources that Codemasters need as well. But apparently, what load of EA people that commentary, apparently this bloke got a lot of things right with Battlefield 2044, which is another EA game. So unlike previous leaks, this is from an EA. This is apparently from an EA insider. Whether it's correct or not, I don't know. F1 Life, obviously, it allows player to behind the scenes look at liveries from the lives of actual Formula 1 drivers, being able to purchase and collect various luxury items. We expected this from something like this from EA, because of course it's all about profit margins at EA and not about making a good game. Obviously the story mode's they say the story mode's been removed. That is not a surprise. These items will include a list of likes of expensive watches and designer glasses. Not interested. However, one of the biggest additions in the game, part of the F1 Life feature, is the introduction of supercars that players will be able to collect and drive. Now, a lot of people are not happy about this, because obviously one of the big features that we've been asking for years is classic cars and classic tracks, neither of which look like to be making a return based on this. I personally think this F1 Life feature would work really well, but with classic cars as well. It'd be 22 tracks, because I doubt whichever Russia replacement goes ahead be whatever, as well, not 23. Whatever replaces Russia on the calendar probably won't be in the F1 game, as well. Career mode is going to be the main, but will they make changes? We'll have to wait and see. But yes, should make a great. It's not going to make a great addition, because a lot of people are not happy, because if you want to drive supercars, you don't want to drive the F1 game. You go into GT7, you go into Forza, you go into any load of games, Assetto Corsa even as well. I don't know. Obviously, EA are going to have the battle now with F1 Manager 2022 and battling against Frontier, and I think personally Frontier will make the better game, as well. EA will be spent far too much time on this F1 Life hub, which traditional core players will not want to do, because we just want to drive F1 cars. We don't want to be dealing with the F1 Life. And then also, if they're spending a lot of time on this Life Hub, it probably means they haven't spent a lot of time doing anything else. It will, apparently they're enabling crossplay. I can't wait for that to be glitched as ever, as well. And apparently they're adding VR support as well, as well, which is overdue because it's been available on Assetto Corsa for years as well. We're expecting Russia, by the way, is to be removed, and it might be removed from F1 2022 as well, because obviously EA have removed all the Russian clubs from FIFA and NHL. So I doubt any what's the word I was looking for? Any track that replaces Russia will appear as well on the game. Bearing in mind, you know, they are working on Miami, they're working on Australia, Abu Dhabi, and Spain. All those 4 tracks are getting updates. So yes, that is where I'm going to leave it today. If you have enjoyed this video, then leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more F1 2022 game news and F1 Manager 2022 game news as well. I will bring you both of those as soon as there's more released as well. Until the next video then, I'll see you next time. Take care, thanks so much for watching, enjoy your day, and goodbye.